Some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Brian Barber, the host and founder of Bigfoot's Barbershop, once again stopping in to the Fox Den tonight for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. It is always good to team up with a man that lives in Michigan, right in Werewolf Square. Much better. That was absolutely delicious. And even though I am still so thirsty, I guess this will have to wait till later because Brian and I must take a walk into the darkness. My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. Ooh, I have some new artwork that's been churned up by Blender Wizard. Yes, it's a Type 1 render of a Dogman that has been reported to the North American Dogman Project. So what we did is we took all the evidence involving Type 1, a wolf-like looking Dogman, and he made a live render of it. So yes, you've seen some of his work, but guess what? He's got some more churning up in the oven. And again, tonight we have Bigfoot's Barbershop. Brian Barber is in the house, and if you've noticed, he used to be bi-weekly, but he stepped it up to weekly. What's up, my friend?
We are doing good. We're going to rant a little bit tonight.
That sounds good to me, my friend. And I think it's really important with some of the things that are floating around. Like I just sent you that picture that someone tried to submit to us that is actually been out since like 2010 or 11, according to our geologist. And guess what they said? Oh, it's a werewolf or dogman in the water. So a couple red flags immediately, though, perspective shot, right? Two fishermen. Why is one fisherman behind it? Why is it at that one angle? And also, logically, like our science team said, it's a black bear with mange. It's bloated because it's been sitting in the water, yes. And it's bruised because it obviously took some sort of stumble or fall to land into that area. And there were cliffs all around. So I'm going to hand you the mic, my friend, and let you kind of plug away.
Well, the picture is actually a great starting point because you know why it's a dogman? It's going to get clicks. Even though that's been proven years ago that it's dogman, and like we talked about, to me, that's when you start floating around stuff that's already been solved, there's no information to offer, it's done, and you recirculate it, you're hoaxing.
Preach.
Now you're doing it for money. You're not in it to benefit anybody at this point but yourself. You're not out trying to enhance people's information about. The only thing you're doing is teaching people how not to hoax and get caught. So, that's where my rant comes in a little bit about some of the social media and Facebook groups and even YouTube channels is when you start influencing people who are new in the field, want to genuinely learn real information. But If you're out there and you're only given one point of view, you are not given the whole truth. You are giving your perspective only, and that's the information that they're getting. And if you're a big channel or a big Facebook group, I won't name names here, but I'm going to get a little hot and heavy on my YouTube channel coming up here shortly. It's disgusting because potentially you're going to hurt somebody by saying they're all, Bigfoot are all cute and cuddly. You're going to get somebody because you're saying all dogmen are aggressive and no matter what. Where do we get to reports? We get them from people who survived. And why did they survive? Because they got let go. If they wanted to really get you, other than just scare you out, you wouldn't have a chance. Physically, you wouldn't hear them coming. Odds of getting a pew off would be next to none because they would just stalk you till you turn your back. So, and then the same thing with the Bigfoot. If you're saying they're all evil, you're giving your opinion. For people that are supposed to be telling the truth, as I quote mark in the air, you're not telling the truth. They're all cute and cuddly. Your opinion. There's extremes. Same thing with Dogman. I do hear good things about Dogman reports. People living in peace with them where things are okay as long as you play by certain rules. You don't do this, that. And then there's other rules where I did get more information on why part of the Manistee Forest is still closed, and that was because their aggressive wildlife was. This is third hand. My friend is the one who actually talked to victims. They actually got a hold of a couple people. Gave them kind of a ass beating, and then they were able to fire off a couple gunshots and scare them off. And into the trailer they went, stayed the night. As soon as they could, they got out the next morning and went to the hospital. So that's why Manistee Forest is still partially closed. But we don't hear about that. Social media doesn't put that out there for obviously certain reasons there because it's true. But, in other realms, they're the ones who actually got caught. They're lucky they got out of that alive. But then you get back to the people who will sit there and tell you that they're just vicious unalivers. They're, there's no way to deal with them. And if you're going to say you're going to put the truth out, put it all out there. Those are extremes. You got good ones, you got bad ones, you got everything in between. And for to say that they're the most evil species on earth, I mean, give me a break. Look what humans do to each other every single day. I mean, how many people are hurt in Chicago alone each weekend? Way more than we hear about Dogman, probably close to being even recorded in 2 weeks. So if you're in social media, realize it's not just your opinion you're giving, but you're influencing people. That's what influencer means, is to put on and feed people information to either benefit them, or it could turn around. If you're putting out bad information, it could be a detriment to them. You could get them hurt. And the Bigfoot world and Dogman world are not the only ones. Fitness industry is full of it. You see 13-year-olds that are out there doing things that you shouldn't be doing till you're 25. And why? Because social media has made it very clear that it's trending now on TikTok and Instagram and all the other platforms, and it's disgusting. Kids are going to get hurt. Same thing when you get back into the Dogman and Bigfoot world is not only are you putting your opinion out there, which is fine, but state it your opinion, not that it's the all-encompassing truth. You're influencing people. And then not only that, but if somebody disagrees with them, they bully them, insult them, belittle them, call them crazy. I mean, who are we in Dogman or Bigfoot world to say without a doubt certain things don't happen? Just because they didn't happen to us doesn't mean they don't happen. But because it didn't happen to me, I'm going to call Timmy out and tell him he's full of crap because he heard the mind speak and, he's crazy. What was he drinking? What was his DOC? You shouldn't even be allowed to talk. And groups do this, and it's horrible. And then people wonder why more accounts aren't coming forward. So at the very same time, not only you're kind of putting a monopoly on it because you're scaring people into not coming forward. And one thing I hate to bully. I don't care. Yeah, when I go off here shortly on Bigfoot's Barber Shop, it's not going to be for kids. I am going to be punching way out of my league. But at the same time, somebody needs to hold people accountable. Whether they hear me or not, who knows? Probably not. But if one person hears it and then says, oh, okay, they're not all cute and cuddly, maybe they'll look into, what not to do so that they don't irritate them. Or if they find out that, yeah, dogmen are vicious, but they're not outright slayers of anyone who walks into the room, what can I do to avoid that? Put all the information out. I understand people want to make clicks and want to make money, and sometimes being radical is going to do it. Sometimes just offering your opinion and, the way you did things is the only way to do things. But at the same time, yeah, I guess you're comfortable in your money, but what are you doing to the literally millions of people who follow you? It's no different than working out. There are extremes. There's Arnold, who worked out 3 to 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then there's Dorian Yates, Mike Menser. If anybody doesn't know who they are, they worked out 45 minutes 4 times a week. Guess what? They both worked. So, just because this organization has this approach doesn't mean my approach I got pretty good evidence with working with peanut butter, and then there's other people who are experts who are in the woods and haven't had one single experience. They might hear a knock. And I've got all kinds of recordings, pictures, tracks. So I'm not an expert by any means. Like I said, Bigfoot I'm just an enthusiast. I don't claim to log all my stuff like I should. And I'm sure once I go off in the video, people are going to see, who are you? What's that? Where's your data? Blah, 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 blah. So social media really needs to start being held accountable for the misinformation that's going out. I know it's been going on for years in the newspapers with politics and things like that, but we have a choice in what we're putting out there now. We have a platform that is literally reaching millions of people. And those are just the ones that are subscribed, let alone their views. So I think it's time we, start asking more, not demand. I have no right to demand anything from anybody, but asking them to start putting the whole truth out, putting everything that for every action, there's a reaction. For something you do, there may be, if you do a certain howl, you might have some serious consequences with a dogman or with a Bigfoot. Because you did something that, yeah, they got a response from, but it probably wasn't the best response they could have got. There could have been an easier way or something that wasn't as aggressive instead of challenging the alpha male of the pack of the dogmen or clan or family of the Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them. So to me, social media needs to come around. People who are on that platform need to start putting out not only their opinions, but their narratives, but, the things that surround it, and not sit there and try to crush anybody who doesn't believe in what they believe just because they haven't encountered it. If that makes any sense.
It totally does, my friend, and preach. I have a lot of answers right there before I hand the mic back to you. It really all just boils down to, hey, I'm a content creator, which is cool. It's good. And if YouTube wants to monetize me and pay me for my content, yes, that's the goal. But also, there's plenty of content creators out there that get paid for creating quality content, meaning like Explore with Us, Iwu. They cover real life, super gnarly mysteries of crime, etc. And they show real footage, documents, and don't glorify or amplify anything. They're monetized and they get paid, so it's totally fine. I mean, as a journalist, yes, I, in hopes would be paid for my content. But like you said, there is a massive problem with the misinformation and huge platforms just spewing junk, as like stated in that image I had mentioned to you. And the thread that came from as a massive following. And yeah, sure, they usually put out some pretty decent stuff. But then there's also a ton of people that just read off emails. I mean, all you're doing by reading off an email is nothing's been verified. Anyone could have just made that up, and you're now putting out, hey, this is real, this is occurring. Yet in actuality, where is the backup of anything? I mean, we don't at the North American Dogman Project post anything unless it's been as verified as possible. We will never just sit there and take an email, read it, and post it. It's not our swag. And also to touch base with what you were saying, I mean, look in general, okay? I believe predators are going to tolerate being around people and other predators if need be, meaning Timothy Treadwell, for example, thought he had some sort of rapport and relationship with some of those bears, which in actuality, certain ones he might have. I mean, I've had cool relationships with wild animals before, etc. Not bears and tigers and wolves or anything like that. I'm talking about like crows and chipmunks and squirrels, things that raccoons that you don't really need to worry about them. Foxes coming to, consume you, unless unfortunately maybe they got rabies or something. But either way, him and his girlfriend were consumed by these bears because he had the misconception that they were his friends when in actuality, like I said, I believe there was a tolerance there. And when they became hungry and realized that they were an easy food source, boom. So, for example, what I think occurs a lot with the dog man in the cases of the people that do get away, I think the reason they're even seeing the dog man is sometimes they catch them in a fleeting glimpse as they're running across a field or the road. But a lot of times it's hunters and other people that I think this dog man is sizing them up, which is why it enunciates it's there, but it's trying to evaluate the risk reward, okay? Meaning, yeah, who knows once it gets like, shot by, say, a hunter, when it runs off, it can probably, potentially heal itself. I mean, there are known animals that survive super traumatic injuries. I spoke about this before with hyenas. Hyenas have survived some of the most grotesque injuries that anyone would be like, wow, that thing smoked, but it doesn't, it heals. So, sure, let's roll kind of with that theory that it can take a beating. I mean, bears. So, even now that it gets shot, it has to go off, try to get this bullet out of it if it can, and heal itself. So is that reward there to try to challenge that hunter? Probably not. It's probably going to enunciate it's there like, hey, like, I don't want you here, you see me, I dare you to, but it's not really going to engage you. I think the ones that are engaged are no different than any other predator, like a mountain lion or something. It just absolutely snags you. And I do think a lot of these occurrences, those people don't go back to that area, okay? Meaning whether it was in their RV or these people walking and hunting, you do have people in their houses that have had a lot of repeated encounters, and we don't really know what the ultimate outcome of that is going to be. There are reports that some of those people have gone missing in these areas, and we believe it's potentially dogman based. So like I'm saying is if you and I are out camping, right, we see something, we leave the area because we're terrified, we don't go back there. But if we did go back there to camp again and again and again, I feel like we would end up on that list of missing people, if that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and this is my opinion, I'll put that out there. I think, you get a warning, maybe another warning, but sooner or later, you've been warned enough, and now you need to go. Because if you're going
Hmm.
to come back, we'll take care of it.
Exactly. Would really kind of solidify a lot of that. And now to touch base with what you were saying before, and I've preached this so many times, is all right, if someone wants to dub somebody an expert, sure, that's a cool little fancy term, or analogy, but that quote unquote person that's being dubbed an expert should never look at themselves as an expert because, in my opinion, once somebody views themselves as an expert, they feel the need to no longer improve themselves. They think they have all the answers to whether they're the best veterinarian now, oh, I know this, or I'm the best mechanic, or I'm the best personal trainer, etc. Because it's almost like a narcissistic naiveness that comes with that territory. But I think the best way to approach it is take that as a compliment, a kudos, yet always try to learn and put yourself around people that can learn just as much as you and want to learn just as much as you, but then also make sure you put yourself around really smart people that can teach and sit back and just listen. A lot of people, they need to always be talking through situations to learn a lot, yet some of the more intriguing information I've always actually felt that I've consumed, I didn't really speak much. I just listened, and you can learn a lot from silence sometimes.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because that's actually how I became a better personal trainer. Was I started working at a gym in 1986, worked there until 1998, and then the gym closed. Went to a competitive gym, and they talked with me and stuff, and I didn't hear back from a couple of days, and I finally did hear, and wound up working for them for 10 years. And the only reason they hired me, though, was because of the fact that I sat and I was willing to listen to how they did things. I didn't think just because I had been a trainer for, I think it was 6 years when I went to the gym Fit for You to work, I didn't consider myself anything special. Those guys, were light years ahead of me as far as I was concerned. I'm always open-minded. I want to listen because even if the person repeats 99% of the same information that you already know, there's that 1% that could really change things.
Again, preach. And I'm a huge Boston sports guy because, as stated from before, I've spent a majority of my life back and forth between Boston, Massachusetts, and Maine. And I'm a hockey guy here. Yeah, I'm a Bruins guy. Let's go. Hockey's coming up. Big Swayman guy. But what I'm trying to say here is I'm also a football school man. And Tom Brady, he used to be and still is one of my favorite athletes. But at a point in time, he was my favorite athlete. And the reason I wanted to use him as an example is he had already conquered so many Super Bowls and had all these MVPs and things. But yeah, he was always the first person working every day and was always trying to improve and always watching film on himself and never looking at himself as the greatest, always realizing I got to be better and stuff, even though everyone else around him was like, wow, dude, you've already accomplished all that. But moral of it is yes, because see how that was approached is he never let that get to his head being like, oh, well, I won a Super Bowl. I'm on the Patriots as a starter. That never even occurred to him. He just went out there and always consistently just wanted to win.
Yeah, and it's a hard trait. Some people come by it naturally, but like you said, he was one of the hardest worker in the games because even no matter how many years you play, you can still learn more about up and coming players by watching the film. Maybe they drop a shoulder before they make the cut or something, so you know what to look for there. I'm not a huge football as far as knowledge of how to play it. I am a fan,
Mm-hmm.
but studying the film, that's why I stay current on my certifications and always reading about fitness stuff because there's more and more stuff coming out that to learn from. Just because I've been a trainer, it just hit me the other day that here in 6 months will be 40 years that I've been working out and working in gyms. 4 decades worth of experience, but still consider myself average at best. I've helped dozens of people lose hundreds of pounds. Actually helped a guy. This was, I know this is off the Dogman topic, but this was really cool. Was there was a ballet, and you can appreciate this being an athlete. He was a professional ballet dancer, had somebody above his head. The girl flinched or something, and she came straight down on his neck and paralyzed him from the neck down. He had to have 2 steel rods inserted down his spine to keep everything straight and mobile. And when he first came to me, I'm like, I've never worked with anybody like this. I don't know if I, biting off more than I could chew. I said, if you're willing to work with me and I'll learn as you learn, then, we'll see what happens. And when he met me, he couldn't raise his arms more than a 45 degree. And within 2 years, I had him putting his arms over his head, and we could do about any exercise other than anything with spinal compression. So he actually flew me to the University of Florida, where I spent 2 days learning my butt off about their physical therapy program. So, you need to keep an open mind because if you think you know everything in the field, guess what? Time to go.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that so true? It's funny you said that as well, because that's all great stuff right there. But on a minimal note in comparison to that accomplishment. It's so I love learning about the Dogman, but sometimes I find myself where I'm like, oh no, I gotta go to kind of bed right now. And I usually put on something before I go to bed. But then every time I learn more stuff, it's absolutely excellent. But then on a super like what the crap note, then I need to at some point add it all back into my book. So like right now, from having all these amazing hosts such as yourself and Barb and all these other things I've seen, there's at least like, oh no, probably 15 to 20 encounters that I have to put into my book. So it's like a gift and a curse, you know?
Yeah. That was like it sounds like James Cameron when he made Titanic, and then they went back, what was it, 20 years later, and found out a bunch of the stuff was different. And he's like, asked the guy, he's like, do you want me to help you paint your pictures or reshoot the movie?
Right, exactly. So, but no, I mean, everything you have stated so far is really valid and true, man. I mean, with anything, the misidentifying information and just, it's okay to be misinformed, all right? But yet, if you are misinformed or you're bamboozled, etc., and you give somebody a platform, just own up to it and just be like, hey, we thought this was legit and unfortunately it wasn't, and that's the best way to approach it. But when you go around in groups and post things like that picture I sent you and all these AI images and all this other stuff and really have no credit to back it up or evidence, and yet you just kind of disappear, you plant this seed. And yeah, it is really sickening to watch all the people just feed into the creepy pastas. Hey, I have no problem with creepy pastas, but you got to list it as creepy pastas and not as actual evidence. And it's like the people that do the furry reaction videos and such, where you know that it's somebody in a werewolf costume. It's absolutely absurd because I've talked about it before. There really is no way to pull out your phone and do a live TikTok video with a cryptid right there. Get that garbage up out of here. So the
Yeah.
fact that everyone thinks that that's real, oh my goodness, that's a Dogman or a chupacabra, but yet it's on TikTok. No, straight up hot dumpster fire, man.
Oh yeah, and I agree with you. If you're misinformed and you're just parroting and you learn different and admit it, that's one thing.
Hmm.
But when you are putting these pictures out that have already been circulated 3, 4, 5 times, and you're calling them Dogman and Bigfoot and the headless horseman from the Hollow, who knows what else is out there, then now it's no different than going out with a fake giant wooden foot and walking through the forest with it, trying to convince the other people that Bigfoot's
You're
running through the
Bigfoot.
yard.
Yes, exactly.
You know, you're putting that up for clicks. You're not trying to start a discussion because it's already been discussed. Like you did on that picture that, oh, here's the dog man from. It's like, okay, out and out lie, you know. And to me, once somebody lies to you, I hate to say it, Todd Standing, um, you know, I, I believe he's had a whole ton of legitimate stuff happen. But once you lie, there goes the baby with the bathwater. Because now everything you do from that point forward is going to be tainted. Or the people that put up that, there was podcasts that put up the show the other night that looks pretty convincing, because people put some effort into sewing a bear suit together with some shoulder pads in it and kind of hunched over so you couldn't see the head, but you got the arm hanging down with the hand. But they had one of those giant rubber feet on. And, shout out to Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot for, I didn't see that part of it. I noticed the foot looked funny, but I didn't know what it was. That picture was floating around 6, 7 years ago. Yet somebody just sent it to somebody trying to convince them it was Bigfoot and get them to put it on their platform, knowing they were going to get ripped apart. So it was almost like he was setting him up for, what do they call that? Swatting or something? No, swatting's when they send the
Yeah,
GoPro.
but no, for trolling, etc. It's funny you say
Yeah.
that because I have in my past been a troll, okay? I've changed in life to be a better person, but yet I never really take offense to any of that stuff. It actually makes me chuckle and I don't even respond to it. I just do the whole like, scrub the comment section. 90% of my stuff, 95% great feedback. But I always just laugh and tell anyone that is just remember you can never troll a troll. I've I used to act and model, man. I mean, people have tried to assassinate my character before years ago, and it is what it is. It comes with the territory, but I feel like it's just all about how you handle it and how you present, the opportunities or the lack of opportunities. Yeah, it's a big thing though. And with the whole fake stuff floating around, and that's why I try to just really bring on people that know about the topic and try to show everything that we have been able to verify and get that out there. And hopefully at some point in time, more people are able to access facts and, not so much of the fictional parts. And before we let you go, recently somebody had sent us, started out really good. It was creepy. Honestly, just looked like somebody had their normal driver cam on, and they plug in their seatbelt, whatever, stopped their car up. It's later at night and they're driving for a little bit, and it's in North Carolina, they claim, and yeah, a ton of dense forest around. And then they get to an area where they pull down this little old dirt side road, comes to a gate, open the gate, when they get out, open it, and they pull into their property. So Saul got this really good feel. But then all of a sudden there's this Dogman like thing where at first the costume looks interesting, but then the second time you watch it, and even the first time, you just feel like there's wrong about it, and it just goes off into the woods. And then the second time you watch it, you see its big goofy feet, and then you see how it moves like an 80-year-old granny into the forest. So
Yeah.
yes, and then the third time you watch it, you're like, all right, this is definitely pretty much hot garbage, and that was submitted to us. And same thing, they never once said anything except for the fact that they're a Dogman experience. But there's so many red flags, and then when you ask them about all that, they have no answers. Or they also are like, oh well, we don't want anyone on our property because of this and that. And the problem with that, in my response, is, well, you're now controlling the narrative. So you're just sending one footprint, which means you could have worked on that one footprint all day. Or you're sending something like scratches on your house, which you could have done yourself. So again, when people don't want people on their property, I almost take that as not credible as well.
Yeah, if you're going to send in stuff from your property, then you probably should be ready for people to want to be there. No different than why I don't give out the location is, from what I've learned and seen, especially on all the platforms, is you don't give out your location until you moved on from that location, because people are going to go.
Yes, and I understand that as well. And people don't have to air it out. Just meaning, for example, with the North American Dogman Project, if you, not yourself, if you weren't Brian Barber, if you were just a person, you submit something to us, we start talking to you, have some interesting stuff going on. We have researchers in the area, and we would like to send one of our teams over there. Well, it's in the paperwork we signed, that everyone signs, that they can't release stuff, etc. So, yeah, you as someone who had just submitted information to us should be up for that. But as soon as you say no, people aren't allowed on your property, then we can't really take anything now that you're sending in or saying at face value, because we have nothing to verify. We can't send people out that are affiliated with us to actually verify what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, if I send something to Star Fox Media, that means I trust Star Fox Media enough to confide in what this is and willing to give all the details I can. And if they want to come out with under certain conditions where, it stays, on the down low, then to me, you're already saying you're willing to do that once I send a picture.
Yes, why did you submit it exactly? So, no, it's just a whole big mess. And I think the more we work together as just a group, I mean, you're part of the squad. We have a good squad going on. We'll be able to get proper information out sooner than later. It's just going to take a little bit, because I mean, I'd assume that it was probably the same kind of shenanigans in the beginning with the whole Sasquatch thing as well. I mean, it seems like it's not as messy as it once was, but it has to have at one point been like that. So, I mean, we're coming into the age too where it's so easy to make things look great. Like, again, before we let you go here, example, I had some really awesome copy free music done for me from a person that's a musician that I know, and it's great. And I can use it all. And there is this awesome lyrical part, and my little brother's going to come over and film me underneath like the street light near the forest, etc. But then we have this werewolf hands and mask and like a hoodie, and there's like a little rock kind of ledge thing that at the area we live in near at the beginning they have this little spot and forest around. And man, what I'm going to be able to just create in my mind and also with like the shadows and the street light and him in the mask is, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's going to look super dope. So more or less what I'm trying to say is it's really not hard for any bozo to try to just film something and make it look legit, but now add another whole layer when you actually have people that specialize in something like that, like videography or, like I said, I'm a former actor and I used to be in a ton of short horror films, and I mean, creativity oozes through my veins. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's the one thing too, that the whole hoaxing I don't know if it's maybe easier in the Bigfoot world and Dogman world. Just seems to be a lot of it. I mean, when was the last time anybody faked a T-Rex running through their yard?
Someone tried to do that with a new AI app, and someday it will get there. It looked cool, but they were walking out in the desert, and off in the distance behind, it looked like Arizona or something. A big T-Rex came out, and you could tell it was CGI, but it looked pretty cool. But like you said, yeah, exactly. So honestly, man, I could probably, you're one of my buddies, but if I flew out to Michigan and was coming to visit you and you didn't know I was coming over yet, and I put on a werewolf mask and you had already told me where you lived because we'd hung out before, dude, I could easily, while you're sleeping real quick, bang on your window, get you look up and be like, what the heck? And then not be there anymore. And you would probably have questioned what you just saw. It's really not that hard.
Oh, absolutely. Especially, when I dream about that stuff anyway. So, a couple scary squatch encounters and it will change your dream pattern for quite a while.
Exactly. And I mean, friends would be doing that. And I was just using that as an example. But what more or less what I'm trying to say is if people want to troll people, it's really not that hard. I mean, if you know you live in a neighborhood where people, don't really have weapons and things, and it's a high end neighborhood, and you go into this neighborhood and you run through somebody's backyard in a werewolf suit.
Yeah.
Well, you see what I'm saying? It's a lot
Yeah.
different if you do that than if you're running through like Tennessee or something where people are strapped to the teeth, dressed up as a werewolf in their backyard or something, is all I'm saying. It's just,
Yeah. No, I get it. No.
yeah.
Especially if you did it to somebody you don't know. And if they never don't believe in that anyway, the reaction would, I'm sure there'd be somebody in the camp, filming it to get the reaction, but.
Yes, exactly. So, but no, I do appreciate you popping on tonight, man. And I think it is important, the topics that you brought up, and really making sure to enunciate that to individuals because, yeah, it is a super problem. And that's one thing that I always do is we have a whole album of fakes. I don't need to necessarily stamp somebody's name on it. I don't do that. But the people that share it around that photo, once it's in the fake album, they know who they are and such. So, I mean, sure, other people can share around that photo all they want, but look, we have fakes for a reason. But I do look forward to hitting you up again here soon, man, and figuring out some more issues with what the heck is going on with the Dogman for sure, bro.
No, and I appreciate it too. We probably brought my blood pressure down by 20 points by letting me rant a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for everyone who once again stopped by tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and share it. Feed the algorithm, and we will see you on the next one.